Welcome back. You're here with us on Times Now. Viewers, it's day 8 of the war that was started last Saturday only by United States of America and Israel against Iran, and how it has now spread over the last 8 days to other parts of the Middle East as well. Joining us on the broadcast right now is Dr. Sheila Nazarian, who is an American Iranian who fled Iran as a child. Thank you very much, Dr. Nazarian, for speaking with us here on Times Now. The Middle East is seeing one of its most devastating conflicts in a very long time, with the US-Israel-Iran conflict getting deadlier every passing day. You left Iran at a very young age and were smuggled out of the country. First and foremost, do you welcome what's happening in Iran? Do you welcome the death of Ali Khamenei?
Of course, with all of the brutality, oppression, horrific things that they have done to the people of Iran, not just in January, where they killed thousands of beautiful, innocent lives. You know, my family, we're Jewish. We went through a lot of minority groups, the Baha'is, the Christians have gone through a lot. And now everybody is suffering at the hands of this brutal Islamist regime. So yes, I think I speak on behalf of the entire Iranian diaspora and 90% of Iranians within Iran when I say we welcome the death of Khamenei and we welcome this rescue operation.
Okay, but Iran is also hitting back hard. Iran doesn't seem to be going down without a fight. How will you like to respond to Iranian response to the operation?
Yeah, but every day it's less and less. So if there were, 90 ballistic missiles went out one day, the next day it's 70, the next day it's 60. So they're running out of ammunition. This is kind of a Hail Mary. I think they were trying to fight back in order to have the other Gulf states put pressure on the United States to stop, saying, oh, this is becoming a wide regional war. They were expecting the Arab states to put pressure on President Trump to stop. However, it's had actually the opposite reaction. Now they have everybody against them.
Okay. Dr. Sheila, can you also, tell us a little bit about how you left the country? What were the circumstances at that point in time?
How did I leave Iran?
Yes.
So when I was 6 years old, it was in 1985, and the Iran-Iraq war was just sort of coming to an end. And we decided to be smuggled out because my father had a threat against his life. He was the head of the Shah's Heart Hospital, and he was told that he was on the list to be killed. And so my mother, my sister, and I escaped through the desert into Pakistan. And my father said he was going on a medical mission and flew to Vienna, left me, my mother, and my sister's passports with the government. And after 3 months, we were able to reunite with him in Vienna and then finally emigrate legally to the United States.
Okay. But Dr. Nazarian, we've also seen, mixed reactions in Iran to Ali Khamenei's death. On one hand, thousands have poured onto the streets to mourn his death. On the other, we've also seen many women celebrating, given the divided reaction we've seen so far. What's the guarantee that Iran as a whole seeks regime change? You spoke about 90% of Iranians that you said you are representing are happy. But what do you make of the, people who are mourning the death?
90% of Iranians want regime change. Attendance at mosques is at a bare minimum at this point. Iranians, the majority of them have rejected Islamism and some even Islam. Christianity is increasing by 20% per year, converts to Christianity. The 10% of 90 million is 9 million people. So there's still 9 million extremists left in the country, which must be controlled and suppressed if Iran is to be free.
In one American airstrike, reportedly it was an American airstrike, more than 150 people were killed, including girls, children in Minab. While you may speak in favor of these strikes against the Islamic regime, will you even be trying to make sense of the human tragedy that's also unfolding due to American and Israeli actions?
How do you know it's American and Israeli action that caused that Israeli school to be, I mean, the girls' school to be hit? Where are you getting your information from? Because they're still investigating whose missile hit that school. And many are saying it was actually a rogue Iranian missile who hit that school. And we saw that during the Israel-Hamas war, where Hamas's missiles would launch and actually land within Gaza and cause harm. So for you to say with such certainty that it was an Israeli or American strike that caused the damage to that school is actually not factually correct or confirmed. And we have to investigate which missile hit that school, and it has not been confirmed.
Okay. Now, as we speak, the Iranian dispensation is also talking about succession after Ali Khamenei's death. Do you actually see a movement or revolution brewing from within to bring about the regime change?
Absolutely. I don't think that the Iranian people have died at the thousands. I've heard 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, and up to 90,000 have been killed during these protests. And so I don't think they went through all of that to not have change.
Okay. And do you see America putting boots on the ground in Iran? Will it go that far?
I don't think it needs to go that far. However, President Trump's not going to say, I'm not putting boots on the ground. You know, everything is a possibility. Everything's on the table. So he's not going to say, oh, I'm restricting myself in such and such way. You know, go plan how you're going to do this for yourselves. No, everything's a possibility with President Trump. Iran, this regime, this brutal IRGC regime should be scared. There's messages coming out of Iran, by the way, just to address your previous question. There's messages coming out of Iran from Iranian women saying, I am willing to die for this. Don't speak for me. We, the Iranian people, are ready to die for our country. Please don't stop with the bombs. And they're so upset with the leftists, especially here in America, that are saying, oh, the human tragedy, the human tragedy. They are begging for this. They are begging for the bombs. So while it sounds great for us to say, oh, the human tragedy, the people within Iran want help. If a bomb lands on them, so be it. These are the messages that are coming out of Iran. They want help. They're willing to be the human tragedy that you are so concerned about, because there's no other way. There's nothing for them to live for. Their money is worth nothing. Imagine working all of your life and waking up one day and your entire life savings is worth nothing. Imagine not being able to speak your mind because you don't know if your neighbor is the morality police and they're going to report you. Imagine being raped before you're shot in the head because they think virgin women go to heaven if they're killed. So they rape them before they shoot them in the head. So they don't even go to heaven in their warped ideology. So if you're talking about the human sacrifice, I hope you were talking about the human sacrifice too, when thousands upon thousands of Iranian protesters were brutally shot in the streets in January. You want to talk about sacrifice? Let's talk about the 40,000, 50,000, 90,000 Iranian young people, old people, children that were shot indiscriminately in the streets. But sure, bring up the 150 schoolgirls that probably were shot by a rogue Iranian missile that went awry.
You know, Iran also cracked down brutally on protesters in 2022 and 2025. If the Islamic regime stays, would it then mean that very little would have been achieved, because it may be unlikely that their own attitudes towards women will be changing?
No, their attitudes will never change, because this is not an attitude. It is a religious ideology. The Iranian regime believes that there will be no justice on earth until, you know, a caliphate is performed, until Islam takes over the earth, until Israel is, you know, no more, and until America, the great Satan, is no more. This is not like, oh, I think this. It's, I believe this with my DNA. So the Iranian people, I'm telling you now, will never accept this regime staying in power in any way, shape, or form. They are done with Islamists. They have learned their lesson, and they're done with, you know, the way that they've been brutalized for all of these years. They want freedom. They were free 50 years ago. This is not an Arab country that has never known what Westernism is. This is not an Arab country that doesn't know what freedom is. When my family was in Iran, they were in mini skirts. They were enjoying fashion and food and travel and parties. This is not a people that has never known the alternative. They tasted it and they lost it and they want it back.
And lastly, what's going to be your message to the people of Iran, given what's happening right now?
Keep fighting. We're with you. We're doing our part here in the diaspora. And you do your part and take your country back. This is your moment.
All right. We leave it there. Dr. Sheila Nazarian, appreciate you speaking with us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective. We will slip into a very, very short break, viewers. Coming back with lots more. Don't go anywhere.